Hold on. Hello. Hi.
How's it good?
Welcome to Red Wine and Cigarettes. It's me, your girl Popo. We've got Lindiwe. We've got Sabusi. And our special guest today, Shing Daddy.
Yeah. Wow.
Shingai, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us this week. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Ooh, a little bit. Gosh, I guess I'll try to truncate it as much as possible. So I'm originally Zimbabwean. I've been in South Africa for just over 10 years now. And I'm originally, as I said, originally Zimbabwean, been here for 10 years, and I moved around quite a bit. And ended up moving to South Africa from the US, where my family has lived for most of my life. It's funny, you know, I spent most of my life there, but decided that I'm actually happy out here. So it's weird. I have a weird dichotomy between the US and being in Southern Africa in terms of being home. I live alone in South Africa. I work full time as an IT consultant, and I moonlight as a photographer in my free time, which brings me the most joy in my life, to be quite honest.
Yeah. He's an amazing photographer, by the way. Check out his page on Instagram. It's called Bantu Frame. So let's get right into it. Our topic today is noted, right? So noted is a space that I don't know if men get to this place, but that I know women get to, where they get tired of fighting, they get tired of sounding like a broken record. They just get tired of saying the same thing over and over again. And they make an agreement with themselves that, you know what, nothing's going to change here. So I'm going to leave this person while I'm with him. But I'm not going to let him know. Then when I walk out the door, it's already going to be done. I'm talking about the girl who doesn't throw your stuff out the window. She folds it and packs it nicely, and then she exits. Okay. Sibs, have you ever been in that situation?
Oh, most definitely. I think just the type of person that I am, that's my kind of modus operandi, especially when I'm the one that's in control, or the one that's trying to get out of the relationship, or the one that's ready to get out. So if it's sprung on me, it's sprung on me. But if it's me that's making the decision, I definitely have been in that situation. And I think it works better because then I've dealt with all the drama already. By the time you are no longer in front of me on the regular, I've dealt with the drama. I've almost done the psychology, and I've counseled myself. Be sharp. I am perfect. So that's generally how and I think most girls, especially when you're in control, it's easier for us that way, because then there's less of the crying and of course you're gonna cry. I love to cry, but it's more of it's done. Yay!
Yeah. Lynn?
That sounds terrible.
Definitely, I've definitely been through that as well. I think you get to a point where you are in the relationship and you're trying to build it, and you keep talking about things that gripe you, or things that get under your skin, things that make you unhappy, things that really make you feel conflicted inside, things that make you feel unloved or undervalued. And you talk about them, they understand. Okay. It happens again, you talk about it again, they understand. And then a few times go by, and then there'll be that one time when they do it again, and you're like, okay. And you stop talking about it, and you stop complaining, and you stop crying, and you no longer feel that cut in your heart. And you're just like, noted, no problem.
Noted, no problem. Shingai, have you ever been in a situation where a girl left you and you were hella confused? Have you ever been, because I don't know how guys experience it, but have you ever left a woman where she's surprised, like, what happened? Why did he just roll out? Like, what's up?
No, I mean, look, I'm a pretty open book, and I speak pretty directly, as you know. So for me, you know, however small or big the issue is, I'll bring it up if there's an issue. So the whole no thing, I don't think applies to a personality like mine. You'll find out, and even if I'm if I'm really struggling to say it, my body language will show that there's something up. So, but so far as being noted, I only realized that that's what it was when you told me what being noted is. so it's definitely happened. It's happened, and in different circumstances as well. It's happened with someone I dated for a long time, someone who I had been out on one date with, someone who I'd met, just out and about, and we started chatting via the phone. So yeah, it's definitely happened.
Yeah,
definitely.
But what at the time? What did you think it was? Were you able to identify that maybe this person had been trying to communicate something to me, or you were just surprised? You were like, I don't know what happened. Like, where were you at the fact?
Yeah, look, a couple of times I have been surprised in a very, sad and unsettling way. Yeah, because a couple of times I have been just come out of left field. But there are times where it makes sense to me. I mean, where the person's funny does decide to leave, they will have said something along those lines. There might have been a discussion or some friction around it. So So yeah, I've certainly had both.
Okay.
Where I know why it's happening and where I have no clue why. Yeah.
Okay. Sibs, you wanted to say something?
Yeah. I think also with noted is it's like keeping a book, right? You've got a notebook, and sometimes when something and I do this. This is scary. I just realized I do this. I write down things that upset me. So I'll write the date and be like, Monday, you did this, ne? And then I'll tell you that you've done this, right? So you don't know I've written in my notebook, but I'll tell you, say, I don't like this. Then Wednesday, you do it again. I write down again in my notebook, right?
Yeah.
So I don't have a physical book. It's normally I've actually got, in your phone, the notes.
Yes.
I've got a Samsung notes. I write it down in my notes with the date. I keep receipts. I don't drag it out. It's for me to see what a stupid I've been and how many times you've done the thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then when I look back at my notes and I go, 10 times, and every single time I've told you about it. No, this isn't fair. That's not right. So it's very funny that it's noted because I literally noted for myself so that when I'm out, I go, why are you out? What happens? Is it fair for you to just go out? Is it fair to the other person?
Yeah.
Or are you just running away without dealing with the issues? No.
Yeah.
I've dealt with the issues. I'll write it down and say, spoke to so-and-so. They understood. And that's the thing. Every single time they go, yeah, I get you. Yeah. I hear you. No change. No change. Noted.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, do I put the hand up and just start talking? I can talk.
I'll get to you now. Guys, don't forget to leave your comments. Your opinions are important to us. This isn't just a conversation between the four of us because we don't know everything. We know what we know, but there's more to know. Shinga?
So I have a question for Sibs, and it came from the very first time that she talked, and she referred to if she's more likely to say, what was it? It was along the lines of if she's the one in control, she will do the noting. It was something along those lines, and it was interesting because you said it twice, and it sounded like that was a precondition for you to do the noting, and it was interesting. So maybe you can revisit that. Why control the factor when it comes to being noted? Or maybe I misunderstood what it was.
I think I'm a person who likes to be in control generally in anything that I do and everything that I do. If people that know me know I'm a control freak. So already I'm a control freak. So what I meant by control is that if anything happens, I need to answer to myself. So that's what I meant by it's in my control, right? So if I don't bring the issue up, it's my fault that I haven't brought the issue up. If you don't change, that's your thing. But if I don't bring the issue up, then I have no leg to stand on to say, oh, but I'm leaving because you did this, this, and this, and this. So that's what I mean by in control. And then I also need to be in control to go, no, this is too many times. There is no change. I need this is what needs to happen. So that's what I meant by control. Yes, I'm a control freak. I know I am, but I have to also be. It's taking responsibility. Lindy will also always speaks about this. Taking responsibility for yourself. So that control is me taking responsibility for myself. So yes, your actions, but I must also know, Wuti, have I done the right things? Wuti, then when I leave, I know Wuti,
this far and no further. So with every topic we speak about, I like to do research. And it's funny, I mean, last week we were speaking about ghosting. We were speaking about ghosting, and there were entire articles about it. So I Googled, do women leave men before they actually leave them? Something like that. And I found a whole other article, you know what I mean? And basically, it was this article about how men should, the signs of when a woman leave you, because apparently it isn't obvious when this is going to happen. I'll read a few things for you. Okay, if you feel like your partner keeps spending time with you as a chore, or no longer tells you details about their life, they may no longer feel close to you. The one that stood out for me was if you never fight or argue, they may have become apathetic. So apathetic means no feeling, no interest, no enthusiasm, no concern. You know, so Linz was actually telling me something interesting about this guy who's married, and his wife was always complaining before about, hey, you don't spend time with me, what. And then she stopped complaining. And he was like, hey, I'm so happy to stop complaining. And she was like, you should probably be worried.
Exactly.
Why did you feel that he should be worried?
Definitely. I mean, I was literally thinking about that right now. In a situation when you're in a relationship or you're married, and your partner complains about the things that irritate them or make them sad or make them feel outcasted, or maybe you come back home at 2 a.m. without saying anything, and your phone is off and they can't get hold of you, blah, 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 blah. There's 1,000 different things that irritate people in partnerships. And she used to scream, and like she would literally say to me, Lindy, I was climbing up the wall onto the ceiling, onto the chandelier, and I was on his case. And I started seeing that every time she talk about it, she'd start getting like, she was like, hey, you know, he did it again, like, you know. And I'm like, okay, you're not screaming anymore. And she's like, no, I'm tired. I'm tired. And he would come to me. They were both my friends. And he'd come to me and he was like, yo, I'm so happy. I don't know what conversations you're having, but she's no longer screaming at the top of her voice. She's no longer on my case. She still cooks my supper the next day, and she doesn't say anything. When I get home, she's fast asleep. And I was like, why are you so excited about this, comrade? And he was like, no, I just feel like she's understanding. I'm like, she's not understanding you. She's tired. And she's done. She's done complaining. And the problem there is she's gotten to the noted phase. And when a person gets to the noted phase, generally, they find other places that fulfill them where you are no longer fulfilling them.
Shingai.
So I've had this look on my face like I'm perturbed about what you said earlier on, that if a guy is not fighting with you, that it means he doesn't care. I actually think that's a bit ridiculous. Like
no. Shingai, that's not what I said, right? No, that's not what I said. I said, okay, so you know your person, right? You know who you're in a relationship with, right? You know if your woman's a nag. You know if she complains. You know if she openly speaks about issues. The point was, when that change happens and she suddenly becomes silent, she doesn't address anything, do something that you know would piss her off, and she says nothing. Maybe she's getting to the noted phase.
Got you.
Do you agree? Do you disagree? Are you still perturbed?
Well, I mean, I would be perturbed if she was upset in the first place. I mean, I react a bit differently. I don't like stress. I try to resolve most things. You know, and quite honestly, if it turns out that something is going on that is bothering her, then it might just be a sign that you guys aren't meant to be. And by the way, I've been in that scenario before, where someone is telling me like, dude, this is the issue, and I've weighed out like, okay, this thing, how do I feel about it? You know, most times I'm willing to accommodate, but then some things, it's not that I won't be willing to, and maybe I'm not able to.
Yeah.
Or maybe I just don't want to for you, whatever it is, right? But yeah, you know, but like I said again, you know, I generally speak directly. So for me, yeah, you know, it hasn't prevented me from getting noted before, right? So I don't know. I think this whole noted thing is more driven by the indirectness in which women sometimes speak, you know, and expect that guys will understand. And again, more so, especially for a guy like me, I'm pretty literal. Like what you get, what you hear, and what you see is pretty much all of this. So yeah, so you know, to adapt to another one person, and even a whole sex that operates differently is tricky for me. I'll be very honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, but anyway, I guess it is what it is. And if you do want to be with a woman, you have to accept that they communicate in that indirect way. So
okay, I see you making faces. I was making faces too. But does Shingai maybe have a point that, okay, I know this isn't true for me. I don't communicate indirectly. I'm very straightforward, blatant, but that's true for me. I know that's true for Sibs. I think to an extent, it's true for Linz. You know, Linz tends not to say too much. I think she gets to note it sooner than you and I, than Sibs and I do. Does Shingai maybe have a point that women tend not to be direct in their communication and they expect men to read signs, like literally.
So, and let me sorry, I'm not talked over you, but let me correct that. I don't even think it's that. I think it's women, you operate on multiple dimensions at the same time because you're just that much more advanced, whatever you want to say. And I just don't think there's an appreciation for that basic difference between us, that we're just not like that. You know? So maybe the indirectness is not like it's again, it's maybe that's a wrong word, right? But sometimes you talk to a woman, you kind of think you know what's going on, but you know there's some other stuff. Yeah, I don't know. So maybe it's not a purposeful thing. Maybe it's not even coming. So maybe I used the wrong word over there, right? Okay. But the point simply is, I do think that there's a disconnect on the dimensions in which women do communicate, and often men. But the way I see it, oftentimes I'm the one who's behind. Like there's another dimension, and I have no idea that there's other dimensions. So maybe again, it's not on purpose. Maybe it's just the advanced way you are, or whatever it is, or the lacking of guys. I don't know.
Okay.
So I took offense, when he started talking.
Yes.
And then you said, you talked about how you are someone who's quite direct, and you said that I am direct. And I realized that, yes, I'm direct. But I get a lot of women that come to me for advice to say, what do I do about this? And I say it.
Yes.
So yes, you are probably right. I just had my Sibs glasses.
Yeah.
You're probably right. Women might not be as direct. And that's the problem, ladies. We need to be direct. Because when you're out, no one will go, huh? Because remember, Shingai was saying that there have been moments where he's been like, it's almost like, huh? What happened? And he's confused. The reason is because we do not communicate then directly and are not clear in our issues.
Yeah.
It was also, and that's probably why then he's had moments where he went, I didn't expect that. Yeah. I know though that when I get to note it and I'm out, the other person knows exactly why I'm out. Does that make sense? So in all my relationships, they know exactly why I'm out. It is clear. Yeah. It is clear as daylight. And that's probably also why I have no issues with my exes. Does that make sense? Yeah. I have no issues. Because I've been clear, I've communicated clearly, I am who I am, and there's no hate. So it doesn't come from a place of hate. It comes from a place of, okay, this is what it is. Yeah. So what is the next step that's best for me? And it's interesting when he said, I will change for you, or I'll do something depending on who you are. I forgot your exact words. Because yes, people will do things because of who you are. And sometimes as women, we need to go, he's not doing it. He's not changing.
Yeah.
He's not. So and it might be because it's not within who he is. It's not in his personality, and you cannot force someone to be something else. And we do that so much. I do it. Damn, I do it all the time.
I think that's a problem that a lot of us have. I think I can only speak for women in some areas. A lot of the time you will know that this is something I can't live with. This is something that I don't have the capacity for. You'll keep telling the guy, and you don't see him making the change. And maybe he just doesn't want to, So I'm not saying that we always get to note it face because the guy is necessarily wrong. That's not the point. The point is a lot of women, when she gets to that point where she's not speaking anymore, you should be concerned, but I'm not necessarily saying it's your fault. Okay, we've got another comment here that I'd like to read from Minnie Munyambu. She says, Shing Daddy, I think men get to note it as often as women. Here is my question. Is it accurate to say that men tend to articulate a deep problem or issue once, and if his partner doesn't pick it up, he makes a mental note or forms an opinion that kind of distances him from her? I think that is for you to respond to, Shingai.
I mean, I guess it depends. I guess it depends on the man, right? I mean, I guess it depends on the relationship. Maybe it depends on the woman, right? I mean, there are instances where I've gone on about an issue with someone, and I genuinely wanted them to change. So it wasn't, I was going to stick around and say it as many times as I had to. I wasn't going to nag about it. I'm trying to think. Yeah, as I said, look, I speak pretty directly, right? So for me, but I also I tend to think that I don't trivialize issues. So if I'm mentioning something, it's a pretty big thing, and if it cannot be resolved, then most times I make my decision pretty quickly. But there are some things that drag out. You want it to work out. It's also and by the way, I was thinking, you were talking about when you do tell guys, or you've been repeatedly mentioning an issue. Sometimes change is hard. It may not be that. It may not be that he doesn't want to change. He actually might not know how to do it, because personality change, even just reflection, even understanding what the issue is, even understanding what triggers this thing, sometimes it's hard. So I don't think it necessarily has to be painted in terms of he just doesn't want to. But then so far this question about guys getting to know each other, generally I think guys are simpler, right? They know where they stand with something, and if there's an issue, just thinking of most of my boys, they will have said what the issue is, and they're probably looking elsewhere now. So guys do get to know it as well. Okay. I tend to not to get to know it. I tend to get to let you know what the deal is, and then I prefer to just move on if it's not working. That's just me. Okay, guys, I am going to be honest and tell you that we're having some technical difficulties because this laptop seems to not have enough space and everything is frozen, but it seems that you can still hear me. Can you still hear me? Okay. Yes, we can hear you.
So
we can hear you.
Can you see me?
My face is cut off.
Yes, your face is cut off because I'm currently unable to move the comment from your face, and I'm so sorry. But we know that computers do what they do sometimes. But let me carry on. So I had a situation where I was staying with this guy, and he literally just ignored everything that I had to say to him. You know what I mean? I actually at one point said, not even once, it was a few times where I said to him, I'm going to leave you. I'm going to leave you. One of these days, I'm going to leave you. I was really blatant about it. And he just didn't listen to me. I think he thought that maybe I was so reliant on the relationship that it wasn't going to happen. Shingai, do you think that men often think that women are just throwing tantrums? Or what do you think is going on there? Because actually felt like he just wasn't taking me seriously. And then there's also this narrative that women are just crazy. You get what I mean? And I think because that narrative exists, a lot of the time our views, a lot of the time our opinions get dismissed. You know, Shingai, if you could speak on that.
Yeah, unfortunately, it is what it is, right? I mean, I think women are more emotional animals, and like anything in life, right? Any quality or trait you have, people will try to use it against you sometimes. So just the same thing as men, we're aggressive or whatever, and sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing, and it can be used against us. So yeah, women are emotional. Is it a bad thing? No, I don't think so. But you asked many questions there. Sorry, there was like three questions.
No. Basically, I think the core question was: do you think that a lot of the time men tend to ignore the things that women bring up because there's this narrative that women are crazy? You hear men saying this bitch is stressing me, excuse my language, you know what I mean? And then they sit around with their boys and they all dismiss what this woman has said. And I think sometimes it also has to do with delivery, because we are very emotional, and we will cry and we will khan and we'll slam doors, but does it make it less valid because of the delivery? How do you see it? Do you think that sometimes our delivery stands in the way of what we're trying to communicate being communicated? What do you think that is?
Yes, it does. And I'm a guy who's I'm an aggressive person sometimes, and especially in a disagreement. My aggression has gotten in the way of communication, right? You're speaking loud, cutting the other person off, or whatever it is, and that certainly has influenced the delivery of the message I was trying to impart. So, but that applies to anyone else. Whatever trait it is that you have, delivery matters. Another thing, I speak fast, and I generally, especially if now and I'm getting worked up, and when the moment, I'll just speak fast, and sometimes that is off-putting to people as well. So I think delivery does matter. Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Sips, do you think that sometimes your personal delivery has maybe created a glitch in their system of communication? Do you think that maybe there are times when you could have communicated something differently, not have been as emotional?
So here there's two parts to Sibs. There's a very masculine part of Sibs. There's a very feminine side of Sibs.
Yeah.
Generally, Sibs is very masculine and very strong and very, So often I will try all those sides, So the first time I say something, I do the masculine, and I'm this is what I'm saying, this is what I believe, and this is my issue, you know what I mean? And very straightforward and to the point. But by the time the third or the fourth time comes, then I'm hysterical, and then the emotional Sibs comes out. And you know what? I hate emotional Sibs. I hate her because I feel and I can see the person switching off. You know what I mean? I can visualize, I can see them switching off. And I think I don't know what the solution is. I really, really don't know what the solution is, because, but with this conversation, the more we're talking about this, the more I go, why can't women be like men? Men, if you cheat on a man, he leaves you now, right? As a man, when you do something and he doesn't like it, he tells you now, and you will never do it again as a woman, right? But men do things over and over and over again because we allow them to. Or not allow them, but they'll do it, and then we're kind of going, oh, okay, you must stop, hey? I told you to stop, hey? I told you to stop, hey? Women need to get to the noted phase faster. Men definitely get to the noted phase faster than women do. Men get there immediately. They say, I don't like this, stop it. And that's it. And the next time you do it again, I'm done. And then you do it and they're done. So they don't go, but I told you, hey. So, yeah, I don't know. Shingai, do you agree or disagree? I don't know. Am I wrong? I think the ladies are trying to sort themselves out, so it's just me and you right now.
Again, different personalities, right? So, gosh, I'll use myself for example, and people change too. So I think in the past, I would have been very quick to come to conclusions. As I've alluded to, I'm pretty direct. I move things quickly. But I mean, the older I'm getting, I'm not becoming like that, and I'm realizing that actually, no, you sometimes you do have to take back. You have to sit back and perhaps swallow some things you might not have swallowed, and even attempt to understand some things that you might not have understood. So yeah, I don't know if that answers the question or not. So I think you're right. Yeah, men. Yeah, you're right. I think of myself. Yes, I when I was younger, I probably would have been more rash and moving on. But I think I'm more chill now, and I think other men are different. Other men would hear you out and wouldn't be as rash as others. I think, because I know some pretty chilled out guys who would try to work it out.
Okay, so I'm gonna read some comments. I'm going to say hi to people that said hi. Kasi, hi. Mene, Mandlagazi is with us. Pepe's here. Lindo Gushe is here. So Pepe is saying the women are more emotional narratives concerns me sometimes. Is that really the case though? Or is it a cop-out sometimes used by gents to get out of having to deal with conflict in a healthier manner? We all experience emotions the same way. It's how we process and communicate those emotions that differs. So for me, I think it touches on that whole thing that I was talking about, that I have different emotions. In terms of my masculine, I'm way more masculine in the way that I express my emotions. And then when I feel like nothing is happening, then I get to the feminine side, which is seen as hysterical. So I think it really differs on the person, but I hear what you're saying, Pepe.
So can I comment on that?
Yeah.
Sorry. So I think with that one, so I don't think it's that men are less emotional than women, or women are more emotional than men. I think it's societal norms and just practices out there. Women tend to be given the green light to express their emotions more, and also just get practice by upbringing. It seems to me to explore their emotions, express them, and stuff like that. So yeah, it kind of makes sense to me that they will be better at expressing emotions, right? But most guys are told to shut it up, be tough.
Yes.
And most of us just don't even have the skills to even start looking at our own emotions. Don't start making an action plan. So I don't think is that women are naturally more emotional. I think that's society allows them to show their emotions more.
It's so true, because if a guy, and I think also another thing is sometimes, I'm gonna touch on something here. I sometimes feel like when guys get emotional, it borders on violence just because they haven't practiced the emotional. Does that make sense? They haven't practiced emotion. I have
the word violence scares me. I think it's great, but I hear what you're saying. It's they're not, but the word violence, I don't know, it's very strong. But
it's very strong. It's very strong. But I use the word violent in that whenever I've seen in relationships or people, when the male is now putting his foot down and he's getting emotional, it doesn't involve tears. It involves hitting a wall. It involves physical presence. Does that make sense? Which in itself is a bit of a violence. That's what I mean by violence. So I'm not saying necessarily it's a guy will hit. I'm saying that there's this thing of
aggression.
Aggression, correct. Also goes back to societal norms. We do not teach our kids from a young age, if you are unhappy with something, this is how you deal with it. It's okay to cry. So we don't teach our boys it's okay to cry. What do we say? Big boys don't cry. Nah? I say it on the regular. I know that's something that I do wrong in my parenting, where my son will do something and then he gets emotional and then he'll start crying and I'll say, don't cry. Why are you crying? And it then gives us men who are unemotional, and when they feel that they are wronged or they want to talk about something, then hi. I am mid-sentence. I am mid-sentence.
We're sorry. Please start your sentence again. Thank you for holding it down. We had to shut down the whole machine. Guys, thank you for continuing to watch.
So what I was saying was, we're talking about emotion. So Pepe had raised a question about this whole narrative of, let me just go back, the women are more emotional. Ne? So we're talking about that. And then I'm saying, and then Shingara was saying that guys are not taught, society doesn't teach them to be emotional. Society says to them, keep your emotions down, and says to women, when you have an issue, you can be emotional. And then I said a thing about, when men are emotional, they are aggressive. So there's no crying, it's physical, it's physical presence, it's banging on walls, etc. We need to teach our boy children how to be emotional, how to cry, like how we cry. We need to teach our kids how to cry. And I do that to my son. When he cries, I'm like, why are you crying? If I had a girl, I wouldn't say that.
And
that's wrong.
I blame men for having for not being able to engage with their softer emotions in a healthy manner. You know, I mean, they grow up hearing things like, be a man, men don't cry, man up. You get what I mean? Toughen up, you know, and so we have a certain responsibility, you know, when it comes to that. We have created the men that we live with. We raised them, and then we blame them for what they become, you know. And then when a man does show emotion, when he does cry, when he is sensitive, we call him all sorts of names. We call him a sissy, we call him a fancy, or like, stop acting like that. There are lots of words that I'd rather not use on a public platform, you know. But maybe in doing that, we also stop them from being able to engage with us in a healthy manner. When we do express ourselves in that way, they then become afraid of tears. You know, they see tears and they're like, yay, I can't deal with this. I don't want to deal with this. Yes, sir.
And they shut down. So when they see tears, they shut down. They don't know how to react to it. They don't know how to change whatever it is that she's trying to express, because all they're seeing is tears. And generally, sometimes as women, when we are tears, we're not coming up with solutions either. So I don't like it when you do this. And you don't realize that, as Shinga said earlier, they just don't have the capability to change it, because it's something that they've never thought about. So they've never thought of how they don't even know how to start thinking about how to change this thing. So, and we're crying and we're going, we need to. And I personally, I try to be a solution-driven person. So if I come with you with something, I try to say, this is my issue. This is how I think that we should make it work. I think that women need to start doing that a bit more. We need to strip ourselves of the emotion. When, especially when we have.
Why should you strip yourselves of the emotion?
No. I mean, not strip ourselves of the emotion, but strip ourselves of the tears and all of that stuff. If you want to get your point across, not strip, but if he's shutting down when you cry, then
sorry, ma'am. Just adding on to, maybe I have a different explanation, but I completely understand what you're talking about. Communication is key. And I think all of this stems from communication. And when you're with a person, you need to actually allow yourself to understand the type of person you're with and what their various languages are. People like talking about love languages. We need to start actually looking at communication languages. And I find that I know I'm talking about women, but I'm generalizing here. Not all women do this, but women tend to manipulate in a relationship, whether they are with another woman or they're with a man, with their tears and their emotions, because they know that the other person can't handle it. They don't have the capacity to house those kinds of emotions. So a woman would cry, and I've seen this happen a lot of times, and just because they're not winning whatever discussion or they're not getting their point across, then they just start bursting out into tears, because now they want everything to be calmed down and they just want the I'm sorry's. We need to start changing how we communicate and actually allow ourselves to be responsible for the relationships we've entered into, and be like, okay, this frustrates me. You're not hearing me. What I'm trying to say is, and understand that if you have spoken about a certain thing a number of times and you're not heard, then maybe you're not meant to be in that affiliation or connection or relationship with that person. Communication is definitely key. And once you get to a point where you need to manipulate someone in order to get your point across, then you have a huge problem.
So on the one hand, we are asking men to be more understanding of our emotions and our tears and but on the other hand, we're not being responsible about when we use those tears.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Has this been your experience, Shingai? Do you find yourself in a position where you now, when you see her crying, you're like, okay, I'm not sure you are here, or you are manipulating me, or have you found yourself in that navigation with a woman where you're just like, you know what, I see the tears, but I don't know if it's crocodile tears or if actually this is coming from your heart, you know, because I think Linz does have a point. You know, sometimes we use these tears for manipulation.
So I was thinking, as you guys are talking about women who cry, like maybe I just date extraordinarily strong women, but I've not dated criers, so to speak. Most women I know, but then again, I also tend to go for women who can kind of go toe to toe with me, right? So, but they tend to be strong, and so there's not much crying that goes on. However, I did have a friend in varsity, and I wasn't dating her, but she was a friend of mine, and she was a crier. And I was not used to it. She was a very good friend of mine, and I was not used to the things she'd get upset about that would make it. I would not know what to do. Like I was afraid to put my arm around. I did not know what to do. I had no idea. But again, that's just me because I was raised in a house full of boys, and I went to boys' schools and all that. So, you know, I guess for me, no, I don't get the impression that most women I've come across misuse their tears. I think they've been genuine tears, and especially when I've seen tears, I'll think what I can do about it. I personally don't ignore it. I think tears are a big thing. If I was crying, I'd want someone to hear me out.
Yeah,
so I don't ignore crying.
Do you cry? How do you feel about it? How do you feel about the way you navigate emotionally? Do you think that you're a man who's been given the space to express, or is that a weird space for you, like it is for most men?
To cry in front of a woman?
Yeah.
I have. Once or twice.
Let's be clear, only once or twice, not 7 times.
Nah, once or twice at most.
Yeah.
So have I? So sorry. Repeat the question again now. So I got lost in the count.
I said, do you find that you're a man who feels okay with openly expressing, or do you feel like maybe you feel it necessary to hold that back just because of who and what a man is expected to be and how he's expected to navigate emotionally?
So I think that naturally, I'm finding out the older I'm getting, I'm becoming exactly that. The guy who realizes that there's protocol and culture and things around, there's norms that you have to fall in line with. So, but when I was younger, I think I had less control. So I was more prone to express my emotions as they were, right? And kind of like Sibs was saying, sometimes it lost control, you know, not violent, but you know, like manic or whatever that was, right? So, but I think the older I'm getting, and I'm understanding this protocol and getting a better handle of myself as a man. No, man, I think I have a better handle of my emotions. I've not felt the need to cry in a long time, and to be quite honest with you, I think I've been through a lot so far as relationships that I just don't see myself crying over conflict.
Yeah.
You know? Maybe if someone hurts you or loss, but like conflict, no. And also, I grew up in a house full of boys, so every day was like this. Yeah. So.
Well, I grew up in a house full of boys, which is probably why I'm the way I am. You know, every day you're fighting for food. You get what I mean? You're knocked down, and you call the parents in. You all gonna get a whooping. You know what I mean? Which is why I probably also, I am a very emotional woman. Very, very, very emotional. You know, but I found a way to fight for tears, and I feel like I've maybe become almost combative. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I choose that over tears because tears never served me when I had a boy before me and a boy after me. Do you get what I mean? So in that way, I've become more like a boy in my navigation of conflict, which is why I think I also kind of understand more how guys navigate emotions. Let me take a comment. So Buitumelo says, I'm sorry, Sibs, your face is completely gone. I'll remove it now. I think we need to articulate ourselves more. Tears are not always about manipulation, but more about frustration, especially when we don't feel heard or seen. As much as women need to manage our emotions better and be able to communicate in words, men need to learn to manage their emotions better. The aggression Sibs talks about in men is what tears are on the women's side. Both genders need to find the balance, I think.
Absolutely.
Linz, your thoughts?
Sorry, Sibs. I completely agree with Boitumelo. On either side, in any situation, there's always situations where you need to balance things out, and there's always the far north and the far south, and you need to find some form of common ground or healthy space where you can communicate what your emotions are. Obviously, understanding the person that you're with. Like, if you understand that the person you're with has a propensity for aggression, you need to understand also the way you approach it. I mean, you also need to take responsibility for the fact that you entered into the relationship knowing that this person is the way they are. And I'm not saying cower down, but I'm saying have a way that you can communicate your emotions, because a person who's aggressive, more often than not, will not be able to understand tears, no matter how frustrated you are. They're literally going to think you're throwing a tantrum. So be able to communicate all of that, and then understand that if you don't have a common ground, then, like I've said before many times, you need to be able to be grown enough to say, we actually should not be sharing the same intimate space at all. And I think that's something that as adults we struggle with in terms of learning that we are not meant to be in the space with this person and moving on. Like, I'm not the person for you because our communication, our modes of communication are not the same.
Yeah.
Okay,
I literally thought we could go on and on, but we've gone. Oh, Sibs, I'm sorry. I'm not going to cut you off. I didn't see your hand. Go ahead. No, go ahead, Mama.
Two very small things. One, Buitumelo, hi. Guys, I met Buitumelo on my honeymoon. And we are still friends on Facebook. So, wow. That's really great to see her on our show. But the second thing is, guys, if someone is, guys and girls, if someone is physically abusive or aggressive or emotionally abusive, get out. So when we talk about aggression, we're not talking about an aggression that's abusive. Please. We're talking about a reaction. So like tears. So instead of tears, but you don't listen to, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about someone laying hands on you. I'm not talking about someone gripping your arm. That's a no. I just wanted to make that clear.
Thank you.
So sorry. So just to clarify, so you're talking about aggression in tone and the way in which one's engaging.
Yes.
And again, you know, that puts a guy like me at a disadvantage. Like, that is how I lived every day with my brothers and in a boys' school. Like, boys are vicious. Have you ever seen young boys? It's vicious, bro. So I mean, you know, so you know, it just sets up the situation where you get two genders being conditioned in almost two diverging, two divergent directions, and then you ask them to bring it all together, and you know, it is. I guess it's just, you know, practice. And maybe that's the answer. Maybe we just get meant to practice emo stuff more. Maybe that's simple, right? And we don't ask women to not be emotional. Because I think the processing of emotions is a very good and powerful thing, quite frankly. So I would not vouch for it, vote for anything that says be less emotional.
I was about to say, actually, I think that the point of departure here is men and women. I think we operate from a space of we're so different. Women are like this, men are like this. And I think that this noted thing begins to not just stop happening, but begins to become less prevalent when we really just try to understand how the other navigates communication.
Yeah.
You know, we are not necessarily going to find a situation where we all navigate it the same, you know, but I think it's very easy for human beings to step into the defense and into feeling offended. You know, when a man gets upset and he raises his voice, maybe you're not like, you're shouting at me now. I'm upset, I'm crying, I'm running into my room. Maybe you then say to him, babe, it makes me feel a little bit nervous when you raise your voice. Please maybe try to lower your voice. Maybe when a woman starts getting frantic, he's like, babe, I'm not sure how to speak to you when you're talking like this. Can we maybe calm down? Let's take maybe 10 seconds. Let's sit down and speak to each other instead of yelling at each other. You know, but instead of understanding our differences, what's happening is that we're judging each other's differences, you know, and pegging it down to he does not care or she does not care, when that's not necessarily what it is. Okay, I would get more comments from you guys, but we are now 51 minutes in when we're meant to be 45 minutes in. Guy, thank you so much for joining us. The glitches in the technosphere, you know, affected our show a bit, but I think we had a really good conversation. Sibs, thank you. Linz, thank you. You guys started. We said it. Join us again next week on Thursday at 8 p.m. We will be talking
gaslighting.
Gaslighting. We will be talking
I'm there calling some people out. I'll be there.
We'll be talking gaslighting with our guest, Bruce J. Little. He is lit. He is fun. He is spunky. He's opinionated. He has actually written articles about the very subject of gaslighting. You don't know what gaslighting is? Google it. It's really amazing that such a thing exists. Follow us on Instagram, Red Wine, the letter N6, CIGGS, Red Wine N6. Follow us on Facebook, Red Wine N6 as well. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the bell so you never miss another broadcast. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
You thought it, we said it. See you next week. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. Cheers. Good night.